Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yeah, you never saw it coming. And welcome to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes, and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. And this segment is brought to you by MyHeritage.com. Have we got a guest and a story for you today? We're going to be talking to Elisa Davey a little bit later on from an organization called Garden of Innocence. It's about dignified burials for abandoned children. And there was a child that was found in San Francisco, buried sometime back in the 19th century, perfectly preserved, and they were actually able to do something with this child to identify who she was and to get her that proper burial. You're going to love this story coming up in about 8 minutes or so. Hey, just a reminder, by the way, don't forget to sign up for our weekly Genie newsletter. All kinds of great links to great stories there. And, of course, more how-tos to help you along as you make your journey into genealogy. And a column from me each week. Right now, let's head out to Boston and talk to the Paul McCartney of the genealogy world, David Allen Lambert, the chief genealogist from the New England Historic Genealogical Society at AmericanAncestors.org. How are you, David?
How do I reply to that? But thank you.
Well, it's not from me. It is not from me. That was actually a post on our Facebook page. Somebody posted up there, David Allen Lambert is a rock star. And then somebody put on, agreed, he's the Paul McCartney of genealogy, which is strange because your hair is definitely not his.
Well, I also don't have the people to take care of my hair like probably he does. I'm flattered. I'm a big Beatles fan, so that's a good reference.
Yes. Yeah, I got to actually interview Paul McCartney once. Incredible time, and it was a great honor for me. So to work with you is even better.
Well, I suppose it's better than being referred to the Keith Richards of the genealogical world.
Absolutely. Hey, before we get going here, we've got to talk about this ransomware attack, David, because it's happening, as we all know, all over the world, attacking mostly businesses. But as it spreads out, we are all in danger with this thing. Here are a few ways that you can protect yourself and your information. I mean, it kills me to think of any genie losing their life's work if they haven't taken some of these steps. So the first step anybody recommends who's an expert is back up your files regularly. That's why we have the cloud. That's why we have all kinds of backup hard drives, because a ransomware attack holds your stuff hostage until you pay. They actually encrypt it. And when you pay, then hopefully they will unencrypt it. The second thing is pay attention to links and emails from strangers. Never, ever, ever open them. If you don't recognize it, forget it. It's better to miss something that's good than to open something that's bad. You will hate yourself the next day. Immediately install software updates when you get them and keep antivirus updates current. Very important. And don't forget to upgrade your Windows version. If you have XP, that is prime target for hackers because Microsoft has not supported that in 2 years, I think it's been now. So make sure you get rid of XP and keep your stuff safe. We would hate to see any of you lose your data from your research. It would be devastating, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And I think Tom would probably echo the same sentiment. Backup, print out. And that's sure way of having another way of getting your data if you do, in fact, lose it.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get on with our family histoire news. What do we have today, David?
Well, some sad news from New York City. I don't know if you saw the news about that historic synagogue built in 1850.
1850, yes. And it burned this past week. And here's the thing about that. It wasn't a synagogue when it was originally built. That was the Norfolk Street Baptist Church at 60 Norfolk Street. It was my family's Baptist church at that time.
Oh, and gosh, I'm so sorry. That's a loss of a historical site for your family.
Yeah, for the family. And it's directly across the street from where my grandfather was born at 55 Norfolk Street. So it was just a real shocker to see this thing burned to the ground the other night. And I'm sure for Jewish people who have a history at that place, it's devastating. And it goes back such a long way. There are lots of people who are affected by it.
Right. And, unfortunately, when we lose historic buildings like that, then, there's just a site. I mean, now your grandfather's house, is that still standing?
Nope, that's gone too.
Yeah, that unfortunately happens, and I heard it was a teenager and it was an act of arson, so that's a shame. On a happier note, sometimes what was lost can be found again. And Melissa Fahey out in Westfield, New Jersey, was working on her house, and a gap in the stairs, she found a note postmarked from May of 1945, written by a woman named Virginia to her husband, Rolf Kristofferson, who was a sailor in the Norwegian Navy back in the time. And she wrote, "I love you, Rolf, as I love the warm sun." So Fahey decided to try to track down the Kristofferson family and ended up finding Virginia and Rolf's son in California. And now they have these letters. What a wonderful thing to think that it slipped between a stair and someone had enough thought to return it to the right family.
Isn't that incredible? And Rolf is in his 90s now, and his family read it to him, which obviously pleased him. What an incredible find.
It really is. One man's junk is another man's treasure.
There you go.
Remember we talked about Richard Overton, the oldest veteran?
Yep.
And obviously at 110, you're always waiting to announce the obvious news. The obvious news here is he just turned 111.
Isn't that incredible? And he says the reason he lives so long is because of cigars and whiskey.
Well, there you go. And they named a street for him.
Nice.
Richard Overton Avenue, now in Austin, Texas. So happy birthday, Mr. Overton, one of America's finest veterans from World War II, the oldest in America. This week's Blogger Spotlight highlights blog.dearmyrtle.com. Check out Mondays with Myrt on her website, where you can have a Google Hangout and discuss topics of genealogy with her. So not just a blogger, but a place that you can go and discuss everything that's going on in the field. As you know, NEHGS offers so much to genealogists through our American Ancestors website. And for those of you that aren't members, you might want to take advantage between now and May 23rd, our special on Pennsylvania genealogy, including resources for genealogists, a genealogical guide for research in Pennsylvania, and the Pennsylvania Genealogical Magazine, which is available as one of the databases on our website.
All right. Very good, David. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Take care, Fish.
And coming up next, we're going to talk to Elisa Davey. She is the founder of Garden of Innocence for dignified burials for abandoned children. And wait till you hear the story she's got to tell. It started with the recovery of a casket in somebody's backyard. It's a story you're going to want to hear in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
Legacy Tree Genealogists is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries. legacytree.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
You know, interesting things happen in the pursuit of the dead in family history. Hi, it's Fisher. It's Extreme Genes, America's family history show on extremegenes.com. And one of the people whose life has taken a completely different direction than she ever expected is Elisa Davey from Vista, California, the San Diego area. And she's on the line with me right now. Hi, Elisa. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Great. Welcome to Extreme Genes. Very excited to have you on the show. Elisa has started an amazing organization that is doing things for children who died and were not buried. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's called Garden of Innocence. Tell us about your organization, Elisa.
Garden of Innocence, I started in 1998. When I read about an article in the newspaper about a baby that was found in the trash in Chula Vista. And everybody reads those articles and they think, oh my gosh, we could do something like that. And then your day starts and you're off running your own errands and doing things and you just kind of put it aside. Well, for some particular reason, I couldn't put this one aside. And finally, a month later, I called the county coroner and I asked him for my own peace of mind, whatever happened to that baby? And he said, he's still here, and if nobody claims him, he'll go into an unmarked grave out at Mount Hope. And so I asked him, well, how do you claim a baby that's not yours? And he said, show me you have a dignified place to put him. So went to work, met some people, gathered a group to help, and we built Garden of Innocence starting in San Diego. I got so many letters from all over the United States, all over England and Canada, wanting to know, how do I start a garden in my area? So I launched Garden of Innocence National, and with that, I've got 12 gardens in California now and trying to branch out to different states. Our goal is to have a garden in every state because our thought is no child should leave this earth without somebody that cared. And we've just buried our 370th baby.
And how many states are you in now?
We're only in California, but we have a sister site in St. Louis, Missouri.
Incredible. And recently, your organization came into play with an amazing discovery in the San Francisco area. A family is taking an old home built in the 1930s. They want to expand it, and they start digging in the backyard. Pick it up from there, Elisa.
The contractor was digging a new plumbing line and following the old one, and his shovel hit a unusual object, and he brought it up, and it ended up being a very unusual casket called a Barston metallic burial case. They were made between 1858 and 1880, and the contractor had little caps where windows would be, and he took the caps off and looked inside, and it was the body of a small child.
And perfectly preserved.
Yes. And that's one of the selling points of the Barston metallic casket was that it would keep your loved one preserved for a very long time. And she's been there for 140 years. She still has her blonde hair, her eyelashes, her fingernails. She has flowers in her hair, long white dress. And she looks like she was just put there by her mother yesterday.
That is incredible. And so now you've got the problem of who is this child. You want to identify it, obviously, and you want to do what you do with Garden of Innocence, give it a decent burial by someone who cares. First of all, let's just go back to the house here. Why do you think that coffin was in this backyard?
Back in the 1890s, the city of San Francisco decided that the dead were taking up the land for the living. So they removed 5 large cemeteries from the city of San Francisco and moved all the bodies down to Colma, which is a city that they built. They actually built this city to bury people, and it was called the City of the Dead back then. No people lived in Colma at the time. It was just dead people. So problem was those 5 cemeteries had over 300,000 bodies in them. So they moved 300,000 bodies down to Colma, but they missed quite a few when they dug up the old cemeteries. And so a number of bodies have been found over the years, in fact, hundreds of them. And this little girl just got missed. She got left behind.
Wow. And so we're talking somewhere, because of the coffin, you can tell that she lived and died somewhere between the late 1850s and about 1880.
Well, I knew that the cemetery opened in 1865.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, well, I know she was buried, I figured somewhere between 1870 and 1890. So I figured right in there must be her time frame. And then by looking at her teeth, I'm not a dentist, but I thought, well, my little grandchildren, they look like that too. So she must be somewhere between 2 and 4 years old, somewhere in there. The problem was when the homeowner's contractor called her, she didn't know what to do. What do you do when you have a body in your yard?
Sure.
Oh, my gosh, I don't know what to do.
What a shocking thing, and I would imagine it would be kind of disturbing to the family.
Yes. She wasn't that upset about it because she knew the story on the land the house was built on.
Mm-hmm.
So she called the county coroner. The coroner came out, and he looked in the windows, and he said, yeah, it's a body of a child. So he called back to the office, and his superior told him to open the casket. And that was the beginning of a long process of change for this little girl. So they opened the casket, and they said, we consider her a properly interred body, and you can leave her under your house, or you can bury yourself down in Colma. And the homeowner is going, wait a minute, this isn't my child. The city moved the bodies. It should be your child to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And they just said, well, we wash our hands. We're not touching it because she's properly interred. And they left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, as a homeowner, that would be a big wow for me. What do I do now? What did she do, the homeowner?
Well, she's actually living in Utah while her house is being renovated. So she's not even home. So the contractor built a box to put the casket in because up till now the body was totally perfect. But now that the coroner opened it and exposed her to the elements, the contractor was having issues. So they put her in a corner until they could figure out what to do. The homeowner called down to Colma to find out, what does it cost to bury a person, and the price was, getting close to $7,000. She goes, wait a minute, I don't have $7,000. And the coroner had also referred her to a company called Architects, and they said that they would come and remove the body for $3,000, but they want an open-end check because every time they do anything to her, like they're going to examine her, they're going to do testing on how she died, so it could come up to $20,000 to $40,000 by the time they're done testing this body.
Wow.
And she went, wait a minute, I have 2 daughters I have to put through college.
Sure.
I can't afford this. So the child actually laid in the backyard for 10 days waiting for somebody to figure out what to do in San Francisco. And I happen to have a Garden of Innocence at the San Francisco Columbarium.
Okay.
So the county public administrator, Michelle Lewis, she called me and she said, Lisa, I was just getting ready to call legal to find out what can we do because we've exhausted everything to help this homeowner. And she says, and then I thought of you. She says, can you help me with this case? Can you help this homeowner? And I said, well, what's the problem? And she told me about the little girl. And right away I said, absolutely, we'll help. And so I didn't realize what I had gotten myself into because
Right.
I now have a body that has no name, and you can't bury a body without a death certificate.
Really?
So, no, I need a permit. You can't get a permit for
Sure.
nobody. So, because the homeowner was gone and the house was empty, I thought, I've got to get her out of that backyard today. So my general manager for Garden of Innocence, Enrique Reed, he owns a mortuary in Fresno. And I called him, and he says, oh, my gosh, what have you gotten us into now? and I told him, and I said, I need you to come get her today. I don't want her left there overnight, because if this gets out to the news and
Right.
people find out about it, somebody's going to break into that house and steal that casket.
Oh, wouldn't that be awful?
That would be awful. So Enrique had one of his guys that got off work at 7 o'clock, rented a special truck. He drove over to San Francisco. He got there at midnight. I checked him into a hotel, and then he got up first thing in the morning, was at the site at 8 o'clock in the morning, and picked up Miranda. Took her
Now,
back.
wait a minute. Miranda, where's that come from?
Well, every baby that comes to the Garden of Innocence, we give them a name instead of a morgue number or baby doe. Or,
Okay.
So every child, every human being deserves a name. That's a dignity everyone
That's right.
deserves, not just a tag. And Michelle Lewis, the public administrator, she asked me, can I name her? And I went, absolutely. So she named her Eve. And then I got to thinking about it while I was talking to the homeowner, and I said, you know what? The public administrator wants to name her Eve, but she's been under your house your whole life, and she's been with you your whole life, and I think you should be the people to name her. So she said, well, I'm going to ask my daughters. And so she asked her daughters, if you had a pretty little friend, what would you like to name her? And they piped up immediately with Miranda. So she became Miranda Eve.
Miranda Eve. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to find out more from Elisa Davey about Garden of Innocence and what happened with Miranda Eve. Who was she? How did they find out? You'll hear the rest of the story in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Hovorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
And we are back. Extreme Genes, America's family history show on extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth. This segment is brought to you by legacytree.com. And I'm talking right now to Elisa Davey. She is the founder of Garden of Innocence that helps bury unknown children. And we've got quite a case that we've been talking about here over the last segment, talking about a little girl whose coffin was found in the backyard of a house in San Francisco that dates back somewhere into the late 19th century, and the body is perfectly preserved. And the homeowner, of course, couldn't afford to bury it and know what to do, and so you, Elisa, stepped forward, and last we left it, you were reaching out to your helpers there in the San Francisco area, and they're kind of like, uh-oh, what have you gotten us into?
Yes. Enrique Reed, he's from Fresno. He's my general manager for Garden of Innocence. He had one of his drivers come over and pick her up and take her back to Fresno to put her in storage until we could figure out what to do. So while she was there, the news broke that there was a body found in a house, and the house was inundated with reporters driving by, taking pictures, filming out in front. So I'm so grateful I removed her immediately. They wanted to come to Fresno. They wanted to take pictures of her, and we just locked her up because I didn't want to see her pictures flashed all over the internet, because she was placed in that position lovingly by her family.
Sure.
And we needed to keep her protected just the way her family protected her. So Enrique and I just kept her safe away from prying eyes so that she would be just kept quiet.
Right.
We ended up laying Miranda Eve to rest on June 4th, 2016. But then the quest started. It actually started the day I found her. Was who is she? How do we find out who she is?
Exactly. Now, you had the old maps of the cemetery. What was the name of the cemetery, by the way?
It was called Oddfellow Cemetery, and the map we had was from 1870.
Right. And so were you able to actually put the house where it would have been in the cemetery?
Yes. We had genealogists in Billings, Montana, and Seattle, Washington, and a gentleman that was an urban specialist in mapping. And between the three of us, them, myself, and Tom Carey at the San Francisco History Library, we were able to tweak the map through coordinates of where Miranda was found and coordinates of where the house was and the cemetery was to find the exact location in that cemetery where Miranda was found.
Okay, so with that then, I would assume you were able to go into the records of the cemetery, which must still exist, yes?
We did find records online of one mortuary in San Francisco from that time. And at that time, there were probably 10 or 12, but we found one. And so my job was to search all the burial records in that mortuary record while the other guys were working on the mapping.
Right.
And 29,982nd record, I found Edith Howard Cook.
Edith Howard Cook. Now, how did you know that that might be the person?
I wasn't sure, but she was in the burial records. She was 2 years, 10 months, 15 days old. I go, that checks. She was in a Barston casket. That checked. She died of the exact same disease that Miranda died of, which was marasmus.
Now, how did you know? How did you know that?
While we were doing our searching, Enrique had pulled hair so that he could send it to a volunteer, Helmer Ehrgrich at University of California, Davis, who's the professor of anthropology. He wrote me the first day, he was one of the first ones to write me to volunteer his services to try to do DNA testing on her.
Okay.
So
and through the testing, you were able to determine the cause of death. Yes,
we knew exactly what season she died in and what she ate. Just by her DNA, we knew quite a lot about her and the disease that she died from.
And so this entry in the burial records from the funeral home matched exactly what you knew about her.
Yes, and she was actually the fifth one that I'd sent to the genealogist. So once I found her, then I sent her name and all her information to the two genealogists in Montana and Seattle. Then Dave went to work to locate records amongst the cemetery records to see where she was buried.
Right.
While Bob went to work tracing her family tree to try to bring it forward to find a living descendant.
For a match.
Yes, and we used Family Search right there in Salt Lake City because they were the only ones that had those N. Gray Halston burial records on file.
Huh. Amazing. So as a result of that, now the genealogist goes out and basically you're doing the DNA to confirm what the paper tells you. You had found 4 other candidates prior, and you want to make sure you've got the right one. And what a great tool we have today, right, in DNA. So you obviously had to get the hair from the roots because that's where the DNA lives. And but there's not much at that point, right?
No, there's not much. Hair samples have to be cleaned and sequenced, and I mean, they went through a lot of work on that. And then University of California at Davis got Ed Green, who's a biochemist in DNA testing at University of California at Santa Cruz. So all the hair samples were sent down there to him, who then put them through the testing to try to, it's all molecular. It's all, you know, the way they were talking, I had no clue. I just had to sign my name off because I'm going, I don't know what you're doing. But between them, they were able to narrow it down.
Was your genealogist then able to find a descendant from that family to try to do a match?
He found a great-grandnephew. His name is Peter Cook. He lives up in San Rafael. He's 82 years old, and he was, when Helmer called him to tell him that we were working on this case, he was so excited because he had never known anything about his father's side of the family. And because we had been searching her DNA, we were able to present him with his whole family tree.
Wow. Unbelievable.
He said his thing was, I'm tickled pink. So, yeah, in fact, I went up to meet him last week, so it was pretty cool. He's excited and that, you know, he was the one that we were able to match with Miranda and prove that Miranda was actually Edith Howard Cook.
Edith Howard Cook. And when was she born?
She was born November 28, 1873, and passed away October 13th, 1876.
That is unbelievable and perfectly preserved in a backyard in San Francisco. Now she's properly buried. She has a name. Is there a stone that's going to go up for her with her name on it?
Well, Miranda had a stone because we put just Miranda Eve on it. And the child loved round the world because I got letters from all over the world. But they won't let us write on the back of our stone, which is what I wanted to do, is turn it around. And they said it's a 120-year rule. You can't. So I had to order a whole new stone, and it's going to have her picture on it because she only had a tiny bit of mold on her jawline and a little bit on her mouth. So we had all of that removed and her mouth closed. Otherwise, the picture that people see is actually Miranda. Edith. I have a hard time saying Edith because I've called her Miranda for a year.
Well, you are one of God's chosen, Elisa, doing the things that you're doing. And if people want to reach out to Garden of Innocence, where can they find you?
We have a website, gardenofInnocence.org, and Miranda's whole story is on there, plus all about the garden, too. You know, babies deserve a happy family, and there's times when it just doesn't happen that way. And so Garden of Innocence will take care and step in to do what the family didn't do and lay them to rest with the dignity and the love they deserve. And it's really important to us to continue this mission. Hopefully our goal is to have a garden in every state and to keep growing so that there'll be a spot there. If anybody's ever needing a place to rest for these abandoned children, we'll be there for them.
She's Elisa Davey. She's the founder of Garden of Innocence. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Elisa, and the story. Amazing, absolutely astonishing thing, and I wish you the best.
Well, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it.
And coming up next, we'll talk to Tom Perry about preservation and taking your old ViewMaster photographs and digitizing them. That's in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
You know, everybody needs a place of their own to plant their family tree, preferably one that no one else can mess with and only you can control. That perfect place is Roots Magic. Roots Magic has been a family history standard for years, and now Roots Magic 7 is on the market. It's an award-winning genealogical software program which makes researching, organizing, and sharing your family history easy. You can start from scratch or import data from other software or even Family Search. Roots Magic also automatically finds records relating to your ancestors from MyHeritage, Family Search, and soon Ancestry and Find My Past. You can use it to create beautiful charts, reports, and books. And have you ever thought about making your own family history website? Roots Magic can make that happen too. And of course, there are free videos, guides, and technical support to help you along. Isn't it about time you planted your family tree? Whether you're a beginning genie or experienced professional, Roots Magic is the perfect tool for you.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
Well, genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com. And welcome back. It's America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and extremegenes.com. I am Fisher, your radio root sleuth, and this segment is brought to you by Roots Magic. Tom Perry is here from tmcplace.com. He is our preservation authority, and we talk preservation every week. Tom, good to see you again.
It's good to be here.
You know, I'm excited about this topic that you've told me about off air, this whole thing about viewmasters. And I think for anybody who's over the age of, 50? They would remember Viewmasters.
Yep.
And for those who aren't, basically it is a little round circle filled with photographs, very tiny ones. And you used to take this circle that was about, 6 inches across in diameter?
About.
And then you'd stick it in this view thing, and you'd click this thing on the side, and you would look inside, and you could see the pictures.
Right.
And they were a lot of fun. And people are still bringing these into you because I guess folks used to make these and put their own family pictures in there.
Yeah, a lot of times you would buy them, they had the Gaff, different kinds of brands that you would purchase that would have little short stories in them. But a lot of people made their own. You know, you take your pictures, you send it off, and then the disc comes back.
Yeah, I had one that was a tour of Yellowstone or something.
Exactly. And so people are saying, hey, I've got these and I want to preserve them. What do I do with these? Well, these kind of go in the same categories if you have the old 110 negatives.
Yes.
Which are those little teeny ones about the size of your little fingernail.
Sure.
That are really small and hard to deal with.
From the 70s.
Exactly. And then you have those really nasty ones that were the film discs. It's just a round piece of negative that are probably about 2, maybe 3 inches round. And they have pictures all the way around them.
Huh. I don't recall ever having seen one of those.
Oh, yeah. They are crazy. One of the biggest problem with those is they have the little gear in the middle of them so they won't lay flat on your scanner. And there's nobody that I know of in the country that actually takes those and scans them besides ourselves. If any of our listeners know of some place that does that, a professional place, or even somebody that does it for others, let us know. Because we've taught our listeners to cut out the hub. So there's a lot of things you can do with these, but the biggest thing you want to remember is it's going to take some work. And if you are a do-it-yourselfer, knock yourself out. If you want us to help you with part of it, or any of your local places that have good quality scanning machines. And again, if you don't have a good quality scanning machine, you're scared to send it off. There's always places in your neighborhood that make billboards and make big, huge signs. So they've got like a kick butt scanner, so to speak.
Sure.
And the thing is, even if they charge you $20 to scan one negative, if you only got one, it's no big deal. Or if you have several, they can scan them all at the same time, give you the file, then you go into Photoshop and you can go and segregate them into separate things.
Right.
And the easiest thing you want to do is after you have the scan itself, make sure you make a copy on your hard drive. So you've got it on your hard drive, your cloud, and then whatever device you originally had it on. And then you just take it, put it into Photoshop, and then it's very easy for those that aren't familiar with Photoshop and can't draw a straight line with a ruler. There's a little tool in there that's a line. They call it magnetic. Photoshop's so smart, it kind of figures out, okay, this is the edge of the negative, which is pretty simple. So you click it on one corner, you go to the next corner and click it, you go to the next corner, click, click, click. And then when you get to the fourth corner, it will copy that whole square that you've made. Then you take that out and do a save as and call it -1, whatever name.
Nice.
And so then you just keep doing that through all of them. And then you can go in and rotate them, do all different kinds of things like this. There's all kinds of tools. And that thing that we posted on the Extreme Genes website, on our website, on our Twitter page, it's going viral. People love watching to see how people use these different tools. And it's not really that hard. And you were talking off air, you only use a couple tools in the whole scam.
Yeah, I use two tools generally with Photoshop Elements. So it's the cheaper version. I use the healing tool and I use the cloning tool. And those two things alone, plus a little adjustment in lighting and color tone, like 4 things basically on the entire program, and you can do some phenomenal work in restoring photographs.
And a lot of people, they get too overwhelmed. And so after the break, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about if this is your first time doing anything like this, it's not really that hard. Jump in and have a good time.
All right, coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Genies, it's Fisher with exciting news. The Weekly Genie, the official newsletter of Extreme Genes, is here. It's your Monday morning briefing on what's happening in the world of genealogy and family history and on Extreme Genes. Get all the details of jaw-dropping stories of discovery and keep up with the latest techniques in family history research. Get to know more about your favorite Extreme Genes personalities, and it's free. Sign up for the Weekly Genie now at extremegenes.com or the Extreme Genes Facebook page. And when you do, you'll receive David Allen Lambert's Top 10 Tips for Beginning Genealogists from the Chief Genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. Sign up today for the Weekly Genie. We are back. It is our final segment of Extreme Genes, America's family history show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, and Tom Perry, our preservation authority from tmcplace.com. And we're talking about the preservation of photos that are kept in little circles called viewmasters. Boy, talk about going back. I hadn't even thought about those things in probably decades, Tom. And you got the 110 negatives. And what was this other one you were just talking about at the end?
They're little discs. They're about like the size, about 2 to 3 inches across, and it's just a giant piece of negative. And then they just have all the pictures around them for when you put it in your little flat camera, and it just would go and, shoot these different pictures on them. They had, I think, about 12 to 14 prints on them.
Never saw one of those, ever. Wow. They must have been common, though.
Yeah, it's just when the economy kind of tanked years ago, it was a way for Kodak to change the price. Instead of having 35 millimeter film, which was so expensive, they made this little disc, which was a 4x4 piece of film with all these pictures, so people thought it was great. Same thing with 110s. They were so nice and small. They were about 4 times the size of an old 8 millimeter roll of home movies, so you can see how small they are, which is great for a 3x5 print, but you want to make an 8x10 or something, you're kind of really pushing the envelope. Remember, don't get overwhelmed by this stuff. If you do a save as, you're never going to ruin your own thing, and you'll just find out how easy this stuff is. It's not rocket science. It really isn't.
That's true.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
I'll agree with that.
It's really pretty simple. When you go in and actually trace each one of the negatives and do a save as, then what you'll want to do is you want to put them each in their own file. Now, a lot of times this is getting more heady, but if you're just starting out, what you want to do is when you take these different pictures, go into your Photoshop preferences and set it up so it shows a grid like a piece of graph paper.
Okay.
Because then it's going to show you exactly where these little pictures line up, and so then you just rotate it till it's right along one of the graphs, then you know you have it nice and straight.
Right, okay.
And if for some reason you scanned it backwards, no big deal, because you can always flip and rotate them also. Because the negative is going to be the same no matter which way you scan. It's just words will be backwards. The clothesline's in the wrong side of the backyard.
Right.
And all you have to do is flip them. And once you do that, you can go get in there and make them bigger. And once you've got all these things done, then it's easy to take a thumb drive and go to your local Photoshop and make prints off of them if you don't want to print them at home, which a lot of people are doing that. And there's a lot of places online, if you have tons of these, that you send them all your files. 3 days later, the pictures show up, and they're really pretty inexpensive because just a big factory that does them. But always remember, read the fine print to make sure that you still own all your negatives and they don't have any right to be able to use any of that kind of stuff. So it's really not that hard of a thing to do. And we were talking about the St. George Expo that we're doing in September. We'll be there showing people how to do a lot of these kind of things. Because remember, it's not rocket science. Start out small. Play with a couple of tools like you mentioned. You use two tools in Photoshop. And that makes it real simple. And as far as shipping, some people just don't want to do it and they're scared of shipping. Just remember one thing, too. In all the years we've been around since 1973, none of our customers have ever lost anything shipping to us. We've never lost anything going back and forth. And the funny thing is I looked at some statistics, and it's actually safer in a UPS truck than it is in your home when you look at how many home fires and floods and mudslides there are versus how many UPS or FedEx trucks burn or get in a crash or something.
Right, or something's lost. That's an interesting stat. And it makes sense.
And it's important. And the thing is, like I say, just start out small, learn the basic things, see what you need to do. And if you have questions, you can always write me at asktom@tmcplace.com, or you can tweet me at AskTomP, and I'm more than happy to help you, send you in the direction, help you with software, whatever. We're here to help you in any way we can.
All right. Thanks so much, Tom. We'll see you again next week.
We'll be there.
That is a wrap on this week's show. This segment has been brought to you by 23andMe.com DNA. Thanks once again to Elisa Davey from Garden of Innocence for coming on and talking about the remarkable recovery of the perfectly preserved body of a little girl who died in the 1870s and how they were able to identify her and give her a proper burial. Hey, if you missed any of it, catch the podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and ExtremeGenes.com. And don't forget to sign up for our free weekly Genie newsletter at ExtremeGenes.com. Talk to you next week. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.